Jean-Jacques, thank you very much for a very interesting presentation on restoration of an agricultural area. And as Ken Stresbeck pointed out, this is again evidence that water management is much a social problem and cultural problem as it is an engineering problem. Also, I want to thank Anita and the rest of the panel for their insightful comments about the water challenges we're facing under climate change. I want to present some concluding remarks which try to synthesize some of these themes. I wrote this before I'd heard most of these speeches, but fortunately you hear a lot of the same things repeated. So as I just mentioned, the previous talks have pointed out many of the threats we're facing with our climate change and our water resources. Thus, there's an urgency to increase the resilience of our water resources, not only current challenges, but also the new uncertain threats from climate change. In my short time, I'm not going to review these threats, but rather I want to focus on some cross-cutting themes and resilience strategies relevant to the global South. Before I do, I want to bring our attention to at least two of the other threats that were not covered in this session. Most of the world's population, economic activities, and critical infrastructure are concentrated in the coastal zone, with 41% of the global population living within 100 kilometers of the shoreline. Additionally, coastal ports provide critical pathways to transport materials to the interior of a country. These areas are particularly vulnerable. They're affected by compound disasters in both the land and the sea, in addition to sea level rise. Another additional threat I'd like to mention is a reduction in the extent of inland glaciers in Central Asia and the Andes, resulting in significant declines in stream flows that could affect agriculture, industrial production, and municipal supply. By mid-21st century, these impacts could be felt by 1.4 billion people. Now, the first cross-cutting theme I want to talk about is that many regions of the world suffer from multiple water threats, not just a single threat. For example, large parts of West Africa and South Asia suffer from both floods and droughts, have large coastal zones, heavily populated cities with limited water infrastructure, and are highly dependent upon rain-fed agriculture. Therefore, management of one water challenge cannot be looked at in isolation from the others. In fact, related to the above, many nations not only face threats to water resources, but also to air quality, food, energy, and others, and these threats are all interrelated. We all know about the food, energy, water nexus. Therefore, these challenges must be cross-sectorally managed, the growing field of multi-sector dynamics. As an example, Jean-Jacques related agricultural challenges to not only water management, but also to land use. Another common threat addressed in this summit is the global South being hardest hit by climate change by contributing the least to global emissions, an instance of environmental injustice. Additionally, the global South encompasses pockets of impoverished and marginalized people with low adaptive capacity and weak institutions, high population growth rates, and sometimes civil unrest. Therefore, these regions face both excess burdens from climate change and a limited capacity to adapt to their effects. For example, as Ken Stresbeck notes, globally smallholder farmers, which are 80% of the global total, will suffer the most from drought as they're highly sensitive to rainfall and have low adaptive capacity. In addition, many of the river basins facing risks from climate change are transboundary, which requires extensive negotiation and government regimes, sustainable management. Outmigration and displacement from water-scarce or flooded regions is occurring in these places to escape these climate threats. Okay. Another common threat is many nations of the global South a challenge to meet Sustainable Development Goal number 6, which is to ensure availability, sustainable management of water and sanitation for all. Presently, 2.4 billion people are without safe drinking water, and 3.5 billion are without safe sanitation. In addition, Sustainable Development Goal 6 is related to all the others. For example, poverty reduction, hunger, health, education, justice, energy, livelihoods, and cities. Climate change threatens our ability to achieve any of these Sustainable Development Goals as water impacts. Given the increase in climate risk and the highly interconnected nature of water systems, we must adapt to the changes in our water resource systems rapidly, the process of adaptation. I'd like to review a few water-related adaptation concepts just at this summit and elsewhere on cross-cutting solutions. The first approach that should guide adaptation, cross-sector or not, is incorporating the principles of integrated water resource management. This is defined as a process that promotes the coordinated development and manage of water, land, and related resources in order to maximize the resultant economic and social welfare in an equitable manner without compromising the sustainability of vital ecosystems. IWRM is carried out in the social, cultural, and political systems in which a water system is embedded. Using this principle, efforts must also be made to improve the governance of water to ensure equitable access by all to water services, markets, insurance, and other safety nets. Another cost-cutting theme is that nature-based solutions present an alternative to traditional gray approaches and can manage many of the compound threats to our water systems. Nature-based solutions are engineered systems that mimic some aspects of natural systems, and they are supported by a growing field of research and practice. In addition, they have important social and environmental co-benefits. For example, Sponge Cities and now Sponge Planet, as mentioned by Kongjin Yu in this session, not only helps manage urban flooding, but also provides groundwater recharge for water supply, creates habitat, provides recreation, deals with urban heat island effect, and also stores carbon. Associated with nature-based solutions are other low-technology, decentralized approaches to water management that need to be expanded, many based upon indigenous values. For example, these systems include the small reservoir storage systems in the Sahel Sudan region of Africa and Sri Lanka, regenerative agriculture, water conservation, floodplain management, and preservation of wetlands and marshes. At the other end of the spectrum are options for advanced technology in water management, with specific attention to multi-sectoral design, avoiding the past approaches of viewing water in isolation. I suggest much of these high technology approaches will be implemented while rebuilding from natural or human-related disasters or in areas with minimal services, with the goal of leapfrogging over the single past sector silo-based approaches. In a fully connected system, water is considered circular. No water is seen as waste, and the outputs from one sector are recycled or reused in another. All parts of the water cycle are managed together instead of separately. There are already a few global examples of direct potable reuse, which not only solves the water supply problem, but also the wastewater problem. In regards to the adaptation planning process, advanced algorithms for decision-making on a deep uncertainty of climate change are being integrated with participatory planning methods within the frameworks of integrated water resource management and multi-sector dynamics to develop innovative and equitable adaptation strategies to climate changes using adaptive management. Finally, of course, all more research is needed on aspects of water management based on transfer changes. So, again, thank you for the attention to this panel. And I just want to close by saying, please consider a vision where we have sustainable management of our water-related resources, where economics, social well-being, the environment are equitably considered. And let's work towards this in this summer and afterwards. Thank you.